Well, hey, Grand Center family. Bob and Chris here. We are distanced, but we're not masked while we bring this little update to you. In a week of ever-changing counts and numbers and guidelines, the Alberta government this week has said they're going to mandate a third capacity of our fire code. So if we would normally have 250 chairs out, we're down to a third of that capacity that we can host legally here in the building. And so we wanted to send a little update to you and say we're still going to have service. We will just plead with you to register if you can.
Yeah. So
we know who's coming, and when you register, we need to know how many are kids that will be in a kids program, how many are in here.
And the when you go on to register, you'll notice there's it actually already has changed. We've changed it. So if you're planning on coming to the main service, you click main service, and whoever's going to the children's ministry. So if you're a teacher, you would click children's ministry or a helper, as well as kids. And then you just put how many are going to that. And that'll give us a really accurate count of who's going to be here, and to make sure that we are within the law of what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, well, and then we're going to arrange the chairs. So if you know you're 4 people in the service, we'll put 4 chairs together for you. And they're advising us now that you can't sit in your cohorts.
Yeah.
So it has to be with members of your own household. So we'll do our best to accommodate that and to provide for you. And then the other shift that they've made, instead of just recommending it, they've said masks will be used at all of the indoor gatherings.
Yeah, so masks will now be required to attend a service, and that is right from our provincial government. And so that's kind of the main new, more restriction, I guess you could call it, that we are facing. So coming to a service now will mean, at least for until they pull that rule, will mean that you need to be face masked.
You know, it's interesting, Chris. I had some time to just kind of reflect and to think a little bit about all of this. Service, you know, I come and I really have grown up going to church and being in gatherings and loving the music, the singing, and realizing that while that bolstered and was a part of my Sabbath rhythm and worship, that really what they've done is taken away some of our methodologies that we're comfortable with, some of the things that we enjoy, not out of saying, don't praise the name of Jesus, don't sing, don't. They haven't said any of that. They've said, for all of you, for a very specified period of time, would you agree to change your methodology?
Yeah. And we received a letter, all the churches did, from Henshaw herself, and it was really well written. She was commending the churches for doing our best and following the restrictions and recommendations, while at the same time communicating that we need to keep doing that. But maybe what stood out the most was how positive the letter was, and how the Alberta government is very serious about our churches still being able to meet in person. There still is the highly recommended to go online services, and yet they have recognized the importance of the church for people. And I actually just love kind of the statement that I'm watching, was it a week ago, when Henshaw was talking about, she says, like, as the medical officer, she's responsible for the whole health of Albertans. And I just thought, oh, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good way to think of things. That she's got a big, it's not just COVID that they're focusing on. They're looking at the health of Albertans. So I thought that came out in the letter. After reading that letter, I'm like, I want to do this stuff. Like, it was well written. They're not trying to change us. They're not, there's no undercurrent of we're tricking you into not worshiping Jesus. So none of that stuff is present. So yeah, I'm thinking, after reading that, this is good. Like, we can do this.
Oh yeah, and I mean, there could be no greater way to love those around us and participate in our community and just be who God calls us to be, and have them not close off to being receptive to the gospel in these days. Having said all of that, it's still disappointing when the experience isn't the same.
Yep.
And maybe it's forcing new roots to go down into new territory in our spiritual lives.
Yeah. And I think for many of us, it's a hurdle that we actually have to get over. That it really doesn't hinder your worship of Jesus. Only if you allow it does it hinder. You can still worship and you can praise Jesus. And a mask or sitting apart isn't going to change that, especially for a short term. That's not going to affect my heart for Jesus at all.
No, but I give you full freedom to be disappointed.
Oh, for sure.
We're talking about the Christmas Eve service and how we would love hosting our community and gathering, and what a special night that is. And we've got some really cool plans of how to facilitate you doing that online and in your homes. But we just don't have the ability to have the service physically this year.
Yeah.
And it just seems like a great big loss.
Yeah, it's one more thing you have to grieve that you might not even been thought of it yet and going like, oh no. That's one more thing that we feel like we're losing. And the grief is real. We have to grieve. We need to grieve well. Lament. We went through a whole series on lament. It's really important. On the flip side of it, we have new opportunities, right? We have new ways of expressing our love for Jesus.
Oh yeah, and so this Christmas Eve, we want you to register with us. How many are going to be in your home, or if you want to get one for your neighbors, we've put together a participation package. It will have things for you to use during the service. It will have, we're going to participate together. It'll have the carols. It'll have everything in it. And that's our gift to you this year. If you want to, there'll be a sign up, go online.
Yep.
And you sign up as a family. If you need it dropped at your door, we'll arrange for that. If we need to set a time for you to come get it at the church, we'll arrange for that, and it'll have your name on it. And if you want to invite people to join us on Christmas Eve, your neighbors, people around you, and they can't physically come, we want you to request one for them and take it to them. And then we'll look forward to gathering in an online service on Christmas Eve.
Yep.
So, wanted to give you a little bit of an update. Thank you for being patient with us and participating with us. And thank you ahead of time for being willing to be vigilant and continue to be careful to honor the rules the government's put in place, and yet participate in worship here.